Hey guys, and welcome to the Tech Buzz Gaming. And today I want to give you a bunch of tips on how, yes, how to collect retro games in 2025. Let's get into it. The first thing that you need to think about is budgeting. You need to find out whatever system that you're going to go for, whatever system that you're going to look into collecting, whether you're collecting for multiple systems or whether you're collecting for just one system. You want to make sure that it falls into your budget, and only you can decide whether it falls into your budget. How do you do that? Well, you need to visit different sites. eBay's a great start. And don't just look at what somebody's putting as bidding or what it's buy now for. You got to see what it's sold for and take an average of that. That's a great way to start. Also, something else that you can check out is PriceCharting.com. PriceCharting is a great place that you can find out all the values of the games of the particular system that you're looking to collect for. The next tip I want to bring up is let's start small and affordable. What is small and affordable? Well, what I usually do is I go out to Goodwills, I go out to pawn shops, I look at all these different yard sales, I go to conventions, and the first system, believe it or not, that I started picking up games for was the Xbox 360. The Xbox 360 has a plethora of titles, a lot of games that you can get at Goodwills and you can get at pawn shops for $1 or $2 a piece. It's a great way to start out without breaking the bank. And listen, it's not always about value. You can start with the games and the systems that maybe you grew up with that, I don't know, resonate with you. Like for me, I'm going for the complete North American collection of the NES. And as you can see here, I'm halfway there. So you can always start out slow, work within your budget, and get the games that you want. The first thing that I did with the NES is I started picking up games that I played as a kid. I mean, let's talk about Super Mario Bros. 3. Everybody played that as a kid. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that was another game. Don't just buy games to just sit on your shelf and collect for that system if you have no intentions on playing it. Now, I do play these games, but I play with them using a multi-cart. And the reason for that is because I do want to show these games and I do want to see the full collection on my shelf. And I know it's not for everybody, but that's just something that I do and I enjoy because I have the space and the room. Now, something else, another tip that people don't always take into consideration when collecting is condition. Now, condition matters. Now, for me, I'm not somebody that's looking to sell my collection anytime soon, but I'm a bit of a stickler, as you can see here, with my consoles. My consoles, I love to collect them complete in box, and I'm just going to grab the NES, and since I'm going for the complete North American collection of the NES, I wanted a bunch of the different variants in box. And as you can see, these are pristine. And the reason that I go for the pristine box is in the event, let's say you fall on hard times, you just never know. Everybody has situations in their life that warrants them to sell their games or their systems. Don't feel bad about it. Sometimes you got to do that. Listen, your family comes first. This is just a hobby. It's just plastic, right? So I am one that collects all my systems complete in box. I try. Now, do I have some systems that don't have the box and that don't have the instructions and the inserts? Absolutely. But my preference is to do complete in box for the consoles and not so much for the games, but it does happen. If you're somebody that is possibly looking to sell or trade, or maybe you pick these up so that you can get other games in your collection, condition matters. The prices that you see are for pristine condition. Some people I see that sell these games at flea markets and stuff, they think they have gold, and the reality is, you know, they've got marks on their boxes, they're falling apart, they're torn, they're ripped. You're not going to get full value for that unless it's a super, 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 super rare game or system. These are some from my childhood, so that's why I have them the way they are. But again, keep that in mind when you're collecting this day and age. Another tip that I have for you is diversify where you're going to hunt for your games. And I can speak on experience. I've done plenty of videos in the past that you can see on my YouTube channel where I'm like, man, I can't find anything anymore. I can't find anything at Goodwill. I can't find anything at pawn shops. It's like they are on to me. They've found out that I'm collecting and they're raising the prices, or they're just not putting them in the store. Diversifying your collection can mean you traveling a distance, you traveling to a store that's maybe an hour away to find deals like these. I went to a Goodwill that was literally 45 minutes away from my house, and I picked this Disney Infinity and Lego Dimensions set up. Both are sealed, factory sealed, unopened, and I got both of these for 20 bucks. So that was a steal in itself, considering that they're sealed and that there is no issues with the condition of the box, the items inside. For me, it helps. Diversifying may also mean going on Facebook Marketplace or Mercari or some of the other platforms that are out there, eBay, and finding, because you never know what kind of gems you could find. Like this corduroy hat. I found this hat on Facebook Marketplace. A lady was cleaning out, her parents had passed away, and she was cleaning out an old trunk and found this, gave it to me for $5 plus shipping. And this is an original corduroy hat from the 80s. I think it's from 1982. So diversifying where you hunt for your games is going to help make you successful in the field when collecting for retro video games. Number 5 that I have for you, and I hope you guys are keeping track, and if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing it out to all your friends and family so that they can also get the wealth of knowledge of collecting for the retro gaming collections. Now, let's get on to number 5, shall we? All right, with number 5, you need to network with other collectors. That is so important. With me, I've even made friends with other vendors at different conventions, and they've actually come to my house. And one of the ways that I've networked was I was able to pick this up from another collector who's also a vendor. And this, I know, it just looks like a regular old NES game with a big nasty looking sticker on it. This is actually a demo unit game from the M82 PAL version. This was one of the golf, and it was inside the console, arcade, however you want to put it, but the demo unit kiosk. And this itself, this sticker is what makes it valuable. And it's just something that I wanted to have in the collection that I wouldn't have ordinarily found if I didn't collaborate and make connections with other collectors and other sellers. And it's something now that I can add to my collection for the NES. Another object that I wasn't able to find was, again, collaborating, was another video for the N64. Now, my brother gave me 2 of them. There's still one more of it. This is number 3, and I needed this in the collection. Again, collaborating helps, and you really need to do that to get the most that you can for your collection. And I don't mean financially, but I'm talking about getting the most out of your collection. You're only going to find certain things in your area. I'm convinced of that. When I go to other areas, I always check out the retro game stores, whether they're mom and pop stores or whether they are these big chain stores. There's always something that you can find in them and some kind of hidden treasure that you definitely want to check out. Also, content creators. A lot of times you can find content creators that are looking to change directions with their collection. Maybe they're getting rid of a game, or maybe they're getting rid of something that you want to your collection. Like if you're an NES collector like myself, you know, those of you know Gamer Aimer, this bobblehead of Mario here, we're gonna pull this down so you can see it. This bobblehead, she had an extra one of it. She asked me if I wanted it. Now I gave her some money for it, and here I was able to add it to my collection. I've never seen this in store, and of course you can order and find maybe some of this stuff online, but you just never know. So that's one of the big tips that I would say is collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. It's key to building your collection. Number 6 on my list is preservation. Preservation is something that you want to keep in mind when you're going to collect, or if you're going to collect. Preservation will determine whether your collection is just throwing money away, or if you'll have something down the road to pass on to another generation. And what I mean by that is preservation is, I'm in a finished basement. All my games and systems are climate controlled. What does that do? That prevents any kind of mildew issues on the box. It prevents any kind of issues with the discs, the cartridges, disc rot. That's a huge topic amongst retro gaming folks. So I just want to put that out there, is if you're going to buy these games for a collection and then go and just stuff them in your attic or in a wet, damp basement, you're going to run into some problems, and you're basically throwing money away, because the collection that you bought and those games that you bought for hundreds of dollars are not going to be worth hardly anything. So keep that in mind. I don't want to see you waste your money. So preservation is key to having a great collection, and make sure that you keep it clean. Clean is great for preservation. I dust my consoles. I come over, weekly, and I dust off the tops of my boxes, everything, my kiosks. I wipe everything down. That's something that I do. I don't make my wife do it. I come down and I manually go through everything. That's why everything looks so nice when you come down here. The reason for that is dust over time can leave like this nasty, I don't know what you want to call it, but this film, and it just hurts your gaming consoles. And another thing with preservation, you always want to make sure that you play your game systems at least once a month to keep the capacitors getting charged, and it prevents it from, over time, don't get me wrong, you'll have to get your stuff recapped, 30-year-old systems, but it helps prevent unnecessary damage to the systems. That's something that I recommend doing. Even if you play it for 5 minutes, or you turn it on, walk in another room, it's not a system you really want to play, you turn it on, you let it run, and walk away. That's tip number 6 on preservation. Tip number 7, what you want to do when you get your collection together is you need to document your collection. That is something I can't stress enough. I use an application on my cell phone, which also works in a web browser. It's called CLZ Games. Now, I'm not affiliated with them. I do pay for this, and I have access to it on my iPad. So anytime I go to a game store or anything, I've learned to bring my iPad with me because I've got 5G on it. And I just have it in my pouch, and I take it so I can look up games. But this is a great way to find out what the value of the games are. It helps you look at what's in your collection for what system. Let's face it, if you're a collector and you're doing like I am, and I'm collecting for a whole mess of systems, it's hard to keep track of everything that you're collecting for. Did I buy this game? Did I get this game already? Usually I depend on my son for that, because he's usually pretty good. I bet you he's only missed one game that he said I had it and I didn't have it, or vice versa. So it's very important to document your consoles, your games, anything that you have in your game room. Another reason for this is for insurance purposes. Every year when I update my system, update my game room, update everything that I have, update to the cloud, I print off a copy and I give it to my insurance company. And this is maybe something you guys didn't know you could even do. I have homeowners insurance, but there's such a thing called a rider. You can get a rider put on, and that basically, let's say your home insurance policy only covers $250,000. And let's say that your house cost $150,000. So that means you have an additional $100,000 that's going to cover your normal stuff, like your clothing, appliances, anything that you have in your house that you would need if the house burnt down or something catastrophic happened, a hurricane, tornado. A rider adds additional coverage for just this area, and it goes around and you pay depending on what the rider is for. So if I value my collection's valued at almost $50,000. That's not counting the arcades over there. So if we add that to it, well, now we're up over $50,000. If I want to get that return in investment, the house goes up in flames, yeah, it's not going to replace any of the memories or anything like that, but it'll at least help cover what I paid into it and what, the nostalgic factor, if you will, of it is. So documenting is very, very key, and it prevents you getting any kind of duplicates. So remember to document your collection. All right, one of the final things, number 8 in collecting for retro games in 2025. This is the most important tip. Be patient and persevere. And what I mean by being patient and persevere is, just like me, I could have the complete full collection right now of the NES North American. I could go out right now and buy the rest of the games that I need. There's some games that are 300, there's some games that are 800, there's some games that are 50, there's some games that are 10. But I want to enjoy the journey. I want to go out there and I want to have the excitement and the thrill of going out there and finding these games in the wild. And what I mean by in the wild is going to these stores or going to these mom and pop shops and looking and searching. My kids love doing that, going on the shelves and finding the game that we've been waiting for and trying to find it. Or maybe it was a game that was damaged, right? And remember what I said about that? You know, just having that experience, or going to a game convention and my son coming running over and go, Dad, 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 I found this game that we need for the NES collection, and being able to pick it up. That is what takes patience and perseverance. I could go online, I could buy it from eBay. Well, what's the fun in that? If you're gonna collect for a complete collection like I am, and that doesn't mean any of you guys have to do that. I know a lot of people do it, but if you don't want to do it, then so be it. Don't do it. I'm doing it because I love it. This is one of the first systems that my brother, my sister, and I had. In fact, we had the Power Pad set, which is why I had to get this set for my collection. There's just so much nostalgia with that. For me, it just means everything. So the NES for me is like my number one. But maybe for you, maybe it's the Super Nintendo or the N64 or the Sega Genesis, or maybe it's the Xbox or PlayStation. Only you can decide. And one of my good buddies, Neo Ness, he says it the best. Collect the way you want to collect.
And all that I ask you to do is collect and play the way that you want to collect and play your games.
Don't let anybody dictate or tell you how you need to do this, or you should do this, or you shouldn't do that. Do it the way you want to do it. And listen, I always love seeing people's collections, and I love hearing tips that people have for building your collection. I didn't spend a ton of money doing this. I've been doing this since 2018, right before the pandemic. I would budget $100 and I would go out to, pawn shops and Goodwills and any little mom and pop shop I could find, even some of the bigger stores. I would do that, and I would take $100. I got paid bi-monthly, which is the 15th and the 30th. So it would basically be $100 every 2 weeks. And me and my son would go and try to buy the most that we could for that amount of money. And yeah, I have some bloatware in my collection, but that's okay, because if I decide that I want to go for the full collection, some of the bloatware can be hard to find. Sometimes harder than the more expensive titles. So keep that in mind. Do you like this type of content? I hope you do. My name is Steve from the Tech Buzz Gaming. I hope you'll consider subscribing, liking as we continue to grow and I continue to bring this great content on YouTube. Until next time, guys, keep it buzzing. I'm gonna go play some games.